Okay, everybody. Hello and welcome to everyone. So nice to see so many people heading in. So glad to see you all. Let's see here. Right. Okay, hang on a minute. I got more people. Bear with me. Kim, could you do the admitting of the people for right now, since you have access to it as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all our neighbors and everyone here. Appreciate you very much being here. Hang on a moment. And so this is our wonderful Dana Estates neighborhood meeting. Next year, we're hoping to go live again at the church, and then maybe have one online as well, because I think a lot of the neighbors seem to enjoy being online, so it's really nice to have you guys all here. We have a lot going for you today. I'm really happy to introduce our board. I am Colleen Garrity, by the way. I am the Dana Chair, and I love being the Dana Chair for you guys. We have Peter McGallian, and I did misspell his name. But Peter is our Vice Chair. He is going to be joining us shortly. Sue Fulmar. Sue, you're here, correct?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
She's not only our secretary, she's also our area rep. So she's our area 4 rep as well as our secretary, and a great secretary she is. LaDonna Lum. Yeah, you're welcome. LaDonna Lum is our treasurer, and I haven't seen her sign on quite yet. Lisa McLennan, she is our area 1 rep, and she should be on shortly too. At the end, we'll definitely bring them on so you guys can see who your area reps are. Angela Cantrell, and I saw Angela here. Angela, you here?
I am. Hi.
Angela is our area 2 rep, and she is really a go-getter. Definitely a go-getter. And then Kim McCarl. Kim, you're here, correct?
Hello, everybody.
She's our area 3 rep, and she is full of great ideas, and you guys are going to be loving all the great stuff coming from our Angela and Kim are new this year, and they are real go-getters, and you guys are going to see a lot of great things happening in the next couple of years with them as far as events and stuff. And then we do need an area 5 rep, so if anybody ever is interested in joining this wonderful board, by all means, let us know. We really need people, and we're going to be getting our 2022 board soon. So definitely fun. We do things on Zoom here, so very easy to go to a meeting. You don't really have to get a babysitter for your kids. You can just definitely join us and enjoy. Of course, we do get one get together hopefully this year, and I believe we can this year be able to have our get together that we're going to have. So tonight we've got a lot going on. We've got Contra Costa Water District here. Lisa Orva, who is, by the way, a neighbor as well, is going to be speaking to us about all the wonderful things about, let's conserve a little water here and there. But Lisa is here to speak. Then we've got Contra Costa Health, and Kim is going to be speaking on behalf of Contra Costa Health. It is employed by Contra Costa Health. All the COVID stuff updates, you're going to get them right here. And of course, our Concord City Mayor, Tim McGallian. Tim, you are here, right? Tim? I saw him. I know he's here. And
hi there.
Hi, Tim. And Tim will be giving us information, of course, questions that you may have about the Naval Weapons Station, the homeless issue, what's going on in Concord, all of the stuff that has to do with Concord, and particularly, of course, Dana Estates. Definitely Tim is going to address those for us. So I'm really honored to have our mayor here tonight with us. So Tim, thank you again so much for being here. We will, of course, have questions for each one of our speakers. We can have back and forth conversations. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to ask your questions if you do have questions. And then if time is still there, this just gives people an opportunity of where everybody gets a chance to talk. But if you have more questions when everyone's asked their questions, by all means, we can go ahead and open the floor again. So this isn't like 2 minutes, you're done. This is 2 minutes, but if you have another question, you can definitely ask that after everyone has an opportunity. So I am going to go ahead and shut off my screen for a moment because I am going to introduce Lisa Borba from Contra Costa Water District. And again, welcome.
Thank you very much, Colleen. Sorry, of course, my dogs have been quiet until like right now. They just started barking, so I apologize about that in advance. Gosh, thank you so much. I'm not used to speaking before the mayor. I feel pretty special today. But thanks for putting this together. Like you said, I am a neighbor now. I live here on Landana. I've been here almost probably a year and a half, almost 2 years or whatever. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy to provide this update. So I do have Jennifer Allen from our office is going to help out with some slides. So I think just to keep the meeting going, we'll just go ahead and start up. To begin with, this is I'll just provide you a district update and try to keep it to about a little less than 10 minutes or so. So next slide, please. We are, to begin, of course, the Contra Costa Water District is a special district. We're formed and governed by local residents, just like me, to provide this essential service. The Contra Costa Water District is, we do provide water for consumption, irrigation, business, and fire suppression. But unlike some other water agencies, we do not manage stormwater or wastewater. We are not governed by cities or counties. What we do is we actually cover a number of cities and part of the county, but not the entire county. The district is governed by a 5-member board of directors, each who lives in the area that we represent, and we are elected by the voters for 4-year terms. Next slide, please. Hopefully people are good with maps, but I always like this one. We do serve about 500,000 people in central and eastern Contra Costa County. Here in Concord, residents and businesses receive water directly from the Contra Costa Water District. That's the same for all the cities actually in the light green, kind of the biggest area there. Elsewhere in our service area, we provide raw or untreated water to the different cities and such, who are then responsible for treating and delivering the water to their customers. And those are the other colors there. Next slide, please. So the water that we serve to your homes and your businesses begins as snow, of course, in the Northern Sierra, as the snowpack melts. The water fills the reservoirs and eventually flows down into the Delta. And then we pump water from 4 locations on the Delta. We can either store it in Los Vaqueros, the reservoir, or we can deliver it straight to the customers. You get it treated from the Contra Costa Canal. Water put in the Contra Costa Canal from the Delta or brought down from Los Vaqueros then makes its way to treatment plants before reaching your homes. And of course, as everyone knows, Delta water quality, of course, is seasonal. So having this local water storage with the Contra Costa, with the Los Vaqueros Reservoir is actually a really great benefit to Contra Costa Water District customers because, of course, when the Delta water is at its freshest, we can take a little bit extra and put it up in the reservoir. And then so that we have that good water when the water quality begins to decline in the actual Delta. I can talk more about the Los Vaqueros Reservoir and the Contra Costa Canal on some slides coming up too. So next slide, please. First of all, our local water supply. We are 65% full in Los Vaqueros, but our water originates, like we said, in the mountains, and Lake Shasta is pretty darn low, 25% full. So this is the second straight year that the state has experienced lower than average rainfall. The precipitation, the rain is only second to the drought of 1977. And then each of the past 2 years has seen, less precipitation than we saw in the recent drought, in 2014 and 15. So we are expecting that these types of weather patterns will be what we see in the future. So, due to climate change, and it illustrates, the value of the state's effort to increase water storage. While we've had a little bit of water this year, local water storage level in Los Vaqueros remains in very good condition. So at that 65% full. So we, the Contra Costa Water District's doing better than most in the state, for two very good reasons. The first is that our customers already do a great job at using water efficiently and have made, conservation a way of life, definitely since the last drought. And secondly, the customers invested really wisely in the Los Vaqueros Reservoir, which provides us, with this improved water quality and, local storage that we can control. So starting this month, we began releasing about 40 million gallons of water a day into our system, which sounds like a lot. But it's from Los Vaqueros, and what that does is it keeps the high quality water. And so, we're using that because we're getting less from what we usually get from the Delta. But, everyone made, had the foresight to make that investment. It was meant to be used at a time of drought, and so we're using it. So we're really proud of, that we have good customers, and us too on the board. We're citizen board members. We're also customers. So next slide, please. So, but we do have a drought program. We have asked all of our customers to voluntarily, use 10% less than what you're trying to do. We've learned a lot since the last drought, and so we're improving our system to be much more resilient, for what as the climate is changing. But this is a pretty severe drought, and so it does require everyone to do their part, to reduce their water use. In California, saving water is what we do. So, like I said, the stage 1 is the voluntary 10% water use reduction. It is, we do have a water shortage contingency plan, which calls upon customers to do so. And now, of course, is the time to start identifying how we can cut back our water use and get the most value out of every drop. And of course, using the resources that we do have wisely, which is, of course, all of our money and investment in the services, that we've, we have serving our homes and businesses. We want to keep as much as we can in storage because, of course, if next winter is dry, that Los Vaqueros reservoir storage will be, key to, really minimizing the sacrifice that we're going to have to do in the coming years. So, of course, if you've maintained your water efficient habits from last drought, you've probably already done your part. Right now, we're not asking you to do very much more, but definitely, take a look at the outside irrigation and such. So when we get to, if we have to get to stage 2, that takes us to, up to 20% water reductions. So next slide, please. This is interesting, I think, pretty clear where we all can save some water here. Outside is 50% of the use at home. And, the average single family household in the Contra Costa Water District uses 150 gallons a day in the winter and 360 gallons a day in the summer. And we can imagine that's all watering lawns and such. So something to think about. Next slide. This one's a great one. It's an illustration of just how great the customers are at using water efficiently. The green line on the graph is population growth over time. You can see that's from 1990 up to 2020. And then, of course, the blue line is the water use. And even though the population has increased because of, efficiency and using water wisely, the amount of water being used is much less. Over this period, residential customers have reduced their water use by about 48 gallons per person a day, which is a pretty significant amount. Shows it pretty clearly on here. Next slide, please. We got some fun stuff for resources and rebates. Anyone can go onto our website and figure all this kind of stuff out. But our water efficiency team offers all these, and they're real happy to help you out with them, and come to the house and make sure you don't have any leaks and things like that, and there's some good ideas on the website and such. So the thing I just got on my own home is that Flume smart water, the water monitor. And that is really, really neat. I mean, you can see it's giving you how much, how many gallons you're using in your shower. I mean, you can tell your personal, like how you're using water. And it gives me, when I had a sprinkler that was going on, I mean, I got a notification on my phone, and I was able to go out and turn it off and fix it. So I was really happy about that. I think it could save customers a lot of time, and I'd really personally recommend people taking a look at that. Okay, but definitely go to the website for more of those. Next slide, please. Preparing for the fire season. We are seeing too much of really bad news about fires in our state. I wanted you to know, and the Contra Costa Water District wants you to know that we are preparing to be ready to make sure that we've got water in the right places, ready to fight fires, as well as to serve homes. So we work with the local fire departments and PG&E to improve our region's ability to prevent and fight wildfires. And additionally, we have stationed some backup generators at crucial facilities, as well as our treatment plants in the event of a PSPS, that public safety power shutoff. So for yourselves, of course, steps you can take to prepare for the fire season is, of course, developing a personal emergency plan, build a kit, keep an emergency supply of water. We recommend 1 gallon per person per day for a minimum of 3 days. And keep your plants healthy and remove overgrown or dead vegetation. So you can also go to the website to learn more about fire safety as well. Next slide. We do continue to make wise investments in infrastructure using the rates that you pay for regular water service. So the projects, of course, help ensure safe, reliable water service for years to come and avoid costly and very disruptive occurs that break in older pipes. In the past several years in Concord, we've completed some of the largest pipeline replacement projects in recent history. In Holbrook Heights, we replaced 1.5 miles of pipe and added about 20 new fire hydrants to protect the life and safety and property in that neighborhood. In the area of Grant and Solano, we're wrapping up 3.5 miles in the Overhill Road pipeline replacement project. And then we just finished a smaller project on Lacey Court near Monument, soon begin work on May Court and Hillsborough Court near Olivera. But particularly, I asked staff to let me know, when was the last time we worked in Dana Estates? And I guess the last time we did that was on Landana, from Willow Pass to Village Road in about 2010. And then we are currently working with the city on a future project in the vicinity of Elderwood Drive that could be built as soon as 2023. So next slide, please. Concord community reuse. Sounds like Tim, I won't take any wind out of his sails on that, but recycled water is a key component of the redevelopment of the Naval Weapons Station. So we are working closely with the city of Concord on its plans to develop that and ensure that there is sufficient water supplies to meet those demands. Recycled water we expect 30 to 40% of the demands on the weapons station to be met with recycled water. So it's going to be a showpiece for sure. So recycled water is, of course, a component of CCWD's long-term sustainable water supply and will continue to play a role in our supply portfolio, all the different ways we get water. So today, about 10% of all demands in our service area is met with recycled water. And that water is provided by Central San or Delta Diablo in the East County. A couple more slides. Next slide, please. We are expanding Los Vaqueros, working with a number of local water agencies who have seen the benefit of having the storage out there. I'm not sure if many people know too much about this, but it's it's building new pipes and pump stations. It will increase the size of the reservoir to 275,000 acre feet. It's about 160,000 acre feet right now. But these are partners that are coming in. The most important thing for us as board members, of course, is that this is our customers. This is our reservoir. And so there has to be a pretty good long-term benefit if anyone else is going to reap the benefits of the risks and the investment that our customers make. So that continues to be, I'm kind of a broken record about that in all of our meetings, but we have some really, this is a once in a lifetime getting all of these agencies together to form a partnership, and we're putting together a JPA. And so I'm pretty excited about this. I'm very cautious, but I'm very excited about it. And it is really the right way to, with all the regional reliability and everyone working together, it builds a lot of trust. So I'm proud to be a part of that. So this is something that could start construction in the next couple of years or so. The next slide, please. This is very important to the city of Concord as well, and to us. This is the Contra Costa Canal in the blue line. I could have shown it to you in the first slide too, but it's the backbone of our water system. It was built in the 30s and the 40s, and it continues to deliver nearly every drop of water that we use in our homes and our businesses. So there's canals in two sections. There's the blue part, which is the main canal, and then there's the loop, which is the in the white. So because for the many reasons, the life safety, another drowning occurred last week. We've had 89 people lose their lives in the canal. It's we're looking at putting it all in a pipe or a portion of a pipe, but a lot of it is just open right now. So, and there's dirt, and it's cracking and such like that. So for life safety, for water quality, to make sure it stays clean, water supply, so earthquakes don't interrupt our being able to serve. And then, for maintenance, the cost of maintenance on an old canal gets more expensive every year. So we are going to be working with the public on the oncoming months to figure out, what the public would like to do, just like we did with the Los Vaqueros Reservoir. But showing them the different ways of improvements, as well as the costs and how we can all pay for it. So we'll be hope to be showing you that kind of information in your water bill in the inserts coming in the coming months. Okay, so then that is it. Sorry, I went a little bit longer than I had hoped, but if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Please definitely look at the website. They've got some really cool stuff there, and definitely if you see me around the neighborhood, stop and say hi. Thank you.
That's what you did a wonderful job, Lisa. I thank you very much. And if anybody does have any questions, raise your hand before speaking. If you could please be so kind as to give your real name and the street in Dana Estates that you live on. So anybody have any questions for Lisa? Any questions? Okay, we did get one that was emailed to me, which is it okay to water my lawn? What is the question?
It's okay to water your lawn. Yes. I think that graph was very helpful in reminding everyone, how much the outdoor irrigation does, make up as part of the water that you use at your home. And that is a very easy thing, even taking off a minute from your irrigation controller. You get a smart controller that then will stop with the rain and such like that. But and we've got all these wonderful, if you go on the website, all, these lawn to garden, lots of demonstration gardens. There's money to be gotten, when you take your lawn out and such. And, I've not gotten to my front lawn yet. It's there, but it's not very pretty, but I will be taking it out and doing something, nice. So look for that next spring.
Yes. Don't worry, mine's the same way. I'm actually the person that asked that. I'm not the person that asked that, but the person that asked that, I'm sitting there looking at my lawn going, yeah, I'm not watering mine, because we are also planning on putting rock and stuff like that in. So
Good,
neighbors,
good,
I promise you my lawn will look beautiful soon.
good.
Okay, well, great. Anybody else have any questions? Anyone else? You can unmute. Nope. Okay. Well, then I thank you again, Lisa and Jennifer, for being the moving of the slides. You did such a great job on that too, by the way. You did a really good job on moving your slides. I appreciate it. So next on our agenda is Kim McCarl, and she is from Contra Costa Health, as well as a neighbor. Look at that. We've got all our neighbors here today speaking. But she is from Contra Costa Health, and she is going to give us a COVID update. I'm very honored to have her here again. Kim, take it away.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I am the communications officer for Contra Costa Health Services. I'm actually on vacation this week, so apologies if there are some details that I might not be totally up on, but I will absolutely do my best. I do live here in Dana Estates, and I'm proud to serve on the board. I live on Manzanita, right down the street from Landana, so we're very happy to be members of Dana Estates. So I'm going to go through this quickly, and then certainly happy to take any questions. So just quickly, these are the topics we'll talk about. We'll talk about kind of what's going on in the county now, what our current health guidance are, and then talk a little bit about booster shots, if there's interest in booster shots, which I know has been a big news item in the past week or so. So we're just coming off of, I'm grateful to say, we're coming off of a severe summer-long surge that was the result of the Delta variant. So in August, we know so far that at least 70 or 57 residents have died from COVID in our county. There have been more than 1,900 new COVID cases over the past weeks. As of this morning, there were 115 COVID-19 patients hospitalized in our county. We did reach about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we reached a high of about 202 people hospitalized, which put us right on the verge of having to ration care and make some tough care decisions. And as you recall from the beginning of the pandemic, really all of our guidance was related to Colleen, I think we have somebody who is participating in a way that perhaps they shouldn't. So I'll leave that in your hands. So as I was saying, the goal of the stay-at-home orders and all of the orders that we placed, quite frankly, was to keep our hospitals moving and able to care for patients the way that we can. That has always been our number one goal. So as you're probably aware right now, the Delta variant is the prominent strain in Contra Costa County and is the most worrisome for us. So a little bit about where our case rates are now. And I'm going to just stop sharing for a minute and then share again and see if we can kind of get rid of some of what
I did remove the person that was having fun.
Okay, it would not normally be my goal to do that because I think people should have an opportunity to participate, but I think we would want people to participate in a constructive way. So thank you for that, Colleen. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about COVID-19 case rates in our county. You'll notice that the green line is unvaccinated population and the blue line is fully vaccinated population. So people who are unvaccinated in our county right now are at risk of the Delta variant, particularly at a much higher rate than people who are vaccinated. Just to give you an idea of how much, when we look at the 7-day average daily case rate per 100,000 residents, 29.6 are among unvaccinated residents and 7.4 are among vaccinated residents. So 3 times more likely. So the difference is noticeable and palatable. Hospitalizations, as I mentioned, this is one of the things that we pay the closest attention to, right, is being able to take the kind of care of our community that we really want to be able to. And right now, 95.4% of COVID-19 deaths since December 15th have been among unvaccinated individuals. And December 15th is a date of note because that's when we gave the first vaccine in the county. So So this is really important. We want to keep people out of hospitals, and we really want to keep people alive. I think one of the things that we currently say now is that deaths related to COVID are preventable, and so it's overly traumatic, I think, to see people continuing to die of COVID when really there's a way to protect yourself. So we are so proud of Contra Costa County that 86.1% of the county population 12 and older is partially vaccinated, and 81% of county population and older is fully vaccinated. That's excellent. We are very happy to see that and to have that going on. It is true that African Americans are the demographic right now that are the least vaccinated. They're vaccinated in our county at about 65%. And so we've been doing some significant work in those communities to get folks out and vaccinated as best we can. So if you haven't gotten your vaccine, I would highly encourage you to do so. So just a little bit of what's currently happening in the county. Masks are still required in all indoor public spaces, regardless of whether you're vaccinated or not. You may have noticed that just this past week, your favorite restaurant probably asked you for your vaccine card if you went in. We are now requiring that in businesses that are at high risk of transmission, which would be places where you would take your mask off, or places where you would breathe heavily, which is restaurants, gyms, yoga shops, dance studios, those kinds of places, bars, any place where you would remove your mask or where you'll be breathing heavily are now requiring that you show proof of vaccine. And I had sort of forgotten about this, and my husband and I went out for lunch on Sunday, and the waitress said, "Can I see your vaccine card?" And I said, "By all means, happy to show you my vaccine card." So we really think that it is one of the best ways to prevent the spread of COVID. And in sort of an effort to say that you heard it here first, I will say that we are likely to hear from our county health officer this coming week a strong statement of support around requiring vaccine in our public schools. So we have one school district so far in the county, West Contra Costa School District, that has required vaccines for anybody 12 and up and employees. And so while it won't be an order, it will certainly be something that he highly recommends that school boards do on their own. So, we feel like that's one important place where it's hard to kind of control the spread, where kids are close to each other. They're playing, it's hard for them to keep their masks on. And we have worked very, very closely with our school district and our Office of Education over the past 15 months to make sure that our schools are absolutely as safe as they possibly can be. But we feel like a mandated vaccine effort on the part of those school boards would be a good way to go. So let's talk a little bit about booster vaccines. You may have heard that the CDC and CDPH now recommend that certain groups of people receive a booster dose of Pfizer. So we're asking that you wait 6 months after your point of fully vaccinated. So fully vaccinated with Pfizer is 2 shots plus 2 weeks. So 2 weeks after your second shot. The one thing that we would say about boosters is, when the first round of vaccines came out, we said, run, don't walk. When it comes to boosters, we say walk, don't run. So there is not the same sense of urgency to get your booster shot as there was to get your original vaccine. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is. So who should get a booster? Really, right now, it's people who are over the age of 65, folks who are residents of long-term care facilities. You'll remember that those were some of our hardest hit communities, and tragically so. Those who are 50 to 64 who have underlying medical conditions whose doctors recommend that they get a booster shot really are eligible now, and we would encourage you to go ahead and get that done. So let me talk a little bit about the booster shot. I'm going to go a little bit off slide here and talk a little bit about booster shots and kind of what we're thinking about them. The decline in effectiveness where booster shots is concerned is not around protection from infection. We are seeing a waning in protection from infection, but it's really around protection from hospitalization and protection from death. So those two slides that I showed you earlier, that's really where the benefit of booster shot lies, especially for those folks that are recommended to get it now. We talked about it's really, we see a marked difference in how sick people get. I heard somebody say the other day that The vaccine with the original strain of COVID was like putting an umbrella up and it was raining and you got a lot of protection. With the Delta variant, it's like you have your umbrella up, but it's a monsoon that's coming down. And so no matter how big your umbrella is, you're going to get wet. And so that booster shot really is just that added protection to keep that monsoon of virus from really raining down on you. I thought that was a pretty good way to think about what the booster means. So wanted to share that with you. The one other piece that I wanted to share really quickly is a little bit about natural immunity, because that's a question that we've been getting a lot of. And that's where once you've gotten COVID-19, the question often is, should I get the vaccine? And our answer is 90 days later, very much so, yes. There is no scientific evidence right now that says that natural immunity really protects you from infection. We don't know yet how long that natural immunity lasts. And we know that with the vaccine, you get the added protection that you get even if you hadn't had COVID. There also is evidence that for people who are suffering from long haul COVID, so those are people who are suffering symptoms months and months and later, even after they've recovered, they still have lingering symptoms, that they can be very much helped by the vaccine in terms of doing away with those symptoms. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and then I'll hand it back over to Colleen and she can facilitate some questions.
Questions. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Raise your hand if you have a question for Kim.
So Colleen, it looks like there is a direct message to me in the chat that I'm certainly more than happy to answer. The question is, what are my medical credentials? I don't have medical credentials. I'm the spokesperson for the department. So just so you all know how this has been working for the past 15 months, for about the first 14 months, every single day we sat down with our county health officer and came up with what our key messages, our talking points for the day were, depending on whatever the myriad of questions we were getting from our community that needed addressing. And so all of the information, and now we do it twice a week because the information is changing a little less drastically, a little less rapidly. So everything that we present in these presentations, and one of the reasons why we do them on PowerPoint is because it's all information that has been carefully vetted by, the county actually has, in case you don't know, one health officer, and that is Dr. Chris Farnatano, and then we have 9 deputy health officers. And so all of the information we put out to the public is very carefully vetted by those 10 health officers, who are all epidemiologists, public health experts. Most of them actually came up in their medical careers through the AIDS epidemic, where they were really learning a lot about the spread of viruses and from a community perspective, how to stop the spread of a virus and how to protect communities. So, so that's the answer to that question.
Wonderful. And Guillermo had his hand up. Guillermo, do you want to go ahead and ask your question to Kim?
Well, in this case, it's not as much of a question as a congratulations and a great comment about the information that is provided. I happen to not only be a Dana State's neighbor, but I also work for the San Francisco Department of Public Health. And I'm in direct contact with Dr. McGallian and Dr. Tomas Aragon. So I got to tell you that the information is not only highly accurate, but it is very well constructed. We are all have to observe all the social distancing, which is very important. Masking is a must. And just to tell you that the booster shots also is being offered to the people like me, for example, who go into high-risk areas, which is clinics, vaccination sites, testing sites, because I provide support for all the network that is being used for all these devices to be working for the Department of Public Health. So I am very pleased to see that that information is well dispersed and very accurately delivered. Thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. I appreciate that. We do have, I had 3 questions that were emailed to me for you, Kim. One of them is, I am 63 years old and healthy. Why can't I get the booster shot?
So what I would really say is talk to your medical provider. And and that really brings up one other point that I didn't mention, and that is we really recommend that you get your booster shot from your primary medical provider. We are giving them, and you can go to a county site and you can get your booster shot. But that really is a conversation that you should have with your medical provider. You'll notice that the CDC is providing recommendations. We've learned through this COVID response that there's a significant difference between an order and a recommendation. And right now the CDC is really making recommendations. And so we're not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. We're here to recommend that you really have that conversation with your medical provider, because there might be reasons that make a lot of sense for you to have that booster, or you may feel strongly, quite frankly, that you want it. And if there's no reason not to, your medical provider might tell you very clearly that that's okay. And they will give it to you. And I don't recommend ever that you go against our recommendations, but it is an honor system. And so if you went to one of our sites and said, I want a booster, we would likely give it to you. But again, I don't recommend that you go against recommendations.
Thank you very much. That's a good answer. Okay. Next question was, my grandma got her vaccines. She lost her card. How can she get a copy of it if she didn't get it through Contra Costa Health? She got it at John Muir.
Yeah. So I will put a link in the chat for where you can go to the state database and download an electronic version of your card. Super easy to do. All you have to do is put in your name. I think it's your name, your date of birth, and then either the phone number or the email address that was associated with the appointment that you made, and it downloads right there. And then you can take a screenshot of it and you have it on your phone. Super easy process to do. So I will put that link in the chat as we finish up.
Wonderful. And we'll also put it on our Facebook page as well, Dana States, so that way those that might be listening on YouTube will have access to it as well.
Great.
But thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. And the last question was, when can my child get their shot? I don't know how old the child is. It just says, when can my child get their shot?
Yeah. So anyone 12 and older can get their shot right now. We highly recommend that they do. So the last that we heard was that the 5 to 12-year-olds would likely be within the next month, and that was probably a week ago. Now, we hear a lot of things, and so I make no I make no guarantees. But we do know that information has been submitted to the FDA and the CDC on efficacy and safety for 5 to 12-year-olds, and we anticipate that those will come very shortly, and would highly recommend, especially if your kiddos are in school, that be something that you do.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions that's here on Zoom? Raise your hand.
So Colleen, there's one more in the interest of full transparency, because we're fully committed to that. There's one more comment in direct message to me that I think it comes from Kim Elderwood, and I'm happy to. Yeah, you can't see it because she's messaging me directly. Yeah. So she says, is this segregation going to be open-ended, i.e., will those who haven't taken the shot and have no plans to be banned for life from taking part in community life where they pay taxes, et cetera? Nobody is banned. If you choose not to take the vaccine, then we ask that you simply present a negative test result within 3 days. So if you want to go out to dinner on Friday night, we recommend that you go and get your test on Tuesday at some point, and then you're all good for dinner on Tuesday night. So it's not segregation. It's a level of protection that our health officers have made based on their medical expertise and their years of experience battling virus spread. So I did want to just address that. There is that option of testing.
Yep. Of course. Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Well, it looks like we're going to go ahead and move on to our wonderful mayor, Tim McGallian. Tim is here to speak to us and, of course, answer any questions you may have. Good, bad, wonderful, whatever. He is definitely here for you guys. And I'm really, really honored and appreciate Tim being here, or Mayor McGallian being here. Sorry about that. Should call you Mayor McGallian now, right? So take it away. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Colleen, and hopefully everybody can hear me okay. like always, it's always good to and fun to see friends. I think it's in some way, shape, or form, everybody, we have done a lot together in this group, and so it's always fun to see everyone. And I would say there is a lot going on in Concord right now, and as you can see, I mean, just even earlier, thank you, Kim, for your presentation. I feel like her and I have been tailing each other for the last 18 months. And between her and Dr. Farnatano and the crew, I mean, collectively, there's been a lot that's gone into everything that's been happening as we try to be resilient in what we are trying to hopefully get out of this pandemic, get into that sense of economic recovery, find that normalcy. But of course, there's a few other pieces as we're trying to step down that path, hopefully, as Kim kind of showed you. But at the same time, we always try to remind people that it's not been easy. There's definitely levels of stress that are involved in everybody's psyche right now. And thank God kids are going back to school. And that's been a blessing, I think, to many of us, including in my household. And I would imagine a few others that are on the call. But overall, I tell people that Concord has been blessed in terms of the amount of community and support that we've had around trying to respond to the pandemic, and in terms of the people that have stepped up. But we've also seen things in terms of, from an economic recovery standpoint, some good things. And one of those is the fact that when you talk about housing, one thing that has always driven Contra Costa County crazy is that Contra Costa supplies the housing for San Francisco, and that people that commute into the city. And so while that is something that drives us crazy, because it's a plus and a minus, because sometimes the jobs aren't necessarily here. People have to travel to jobs. Well, because of the pandemic and everybody working from home, it made it that a lot of our businesses didn't actually go out of business. And so while a lot of them had to kind of pivot and get creative, it actually made it to where we were able to recover that much faster. Or in some cases, people went ahead and they went out to eat. They spent more time with their families, and more goods and services were purchased locally. And so I say that because as the city has been trying to do everything we can to kind of manage where we are from a budgetary standpoint, but also help everyone from an economic development standpoint and our small businesses and the different grant programs and everything that's out there. We have been fortunate, and we've been trying to make sure that hopefully as we continue to kind of climb out of where we're going, where we've been, that recovery is a little easier. So just something to kind of share with everyone as we kind of continue down this path. There has been a ton of different things, and I'll just kind of touch on, of course, outside of just the general pandemic recovery, a lot of economic development things that have gone on, some of our small business grant programs. We've had a huge focus on infrastructure. You're going to see, I mean, we've had a few roads that are already starting to get torn up, and you're going to see a lot more things happening over the next 5 years. And a big thank you to the voters in passing Measure V. And so that of course has helped us significantly establish now a 5-year work program to where we're going to be able to invest a total of about $115 million very, very quickly into bringing up our roadways and infrastructure. And so unfortunately, you're going to probably be inconvenienced in a number of different areas as you're trying to maybe drive to and from around town, but hopefully all for good reasons in a short term to be able to get our roadways back up to speed. And you're going to start seeing a lot of things happening over the next few years. So the city website does give you information in terms of kind of what roads are coming next, which ones are going to be paved when, and then to the extent of if they're going to be, fully taken down to the nothing to rebuild, or just a simple slurry seal or those type of things. So so just a few things to kind of push out there. And then Colleen kind of mentioned the conversations we've had around the unsheltered homeless. there's been a lot going on around that in Concord. The city itself has been trying to commit a number of programs to helping the unsheltered. Very specifically over the last 6 months to 8 months, we have kind of doubled our efforts as it relates to our core outreach programs, as well as our mental health evaluation team. We've built up a mental health evaluation team. Core has always been our kind of homeless outreach program, but we've always partnered with the city of Walnut Creek. We've split teams and they've never been full-time. And so that's something to where a number of months ago, we've been very, very concerned in terms of trying to make sure that we are addressing kind of the larger increase in the homeless population that we are seeing as a result of what was going on with the pandemic specifically. And so we definitely have gone and increased the amount of resources being given to kind of help combat that and work with those people who are trying to get them off the street and into services and into housing, that type of stuff. So like I said, we have now we've fully funded a full-time core team in the city of Concord. And then this mental health evaluation team now also has been kind of brought in to help assist, because it's not necessarily, it's that kind of counterpoint between what is going to happen between the PD potentially helping and that kind of middle ground, because it may not be a police response, that more of a health evaluation person can help in dealing with issues that may come up. So more to come in that space. The city's also gone ahead and we are bringing on a new person to, we're still kind of developing that final name of what that job description is going to be. But the idea is it's going to be some kind of community resource coordinator. And I bring that up because there is a lot of things happening in the space around working with the unsheltered and the homeless. And so, but our biggest issue that we're finding is as we're trying to build programs or partner with programs and some of the different community groups that are out there, having that one central person at the city is kind of where I feel like we started to see there might be a mess. And so what we wanted to make sure is that we weren't losing any connection points. And so we're trying to bring in a new person to help kind of coordinate that effort between our core teams and the MET team, the mental health evaluation group, and the things that are going on at the county, as well as our police department and then our nonprofit sectors. So, so again, there's a lot more effort and a lot more things that are going into working collaboratively with all the different groups to be able to address the things that are going on with our unsheltered here in Concord. So, so that is kind of one more thing. Again, I know there's a lot of things I'm going to kind of throw out there as we go, and then we can kind of come back from the kind of question and answer side afterwards. And then, of course, the big one that we'll talk about is dealing with the Concord Naval Weapons Station. And so, of course, this has been an ongoing project that we've had over the last 10, 12 years. And so we have just gone ahead and we've selected a new master developer after the last master developer fell out of contract and we did not continue down the path with Lennar last year. We've gone ahead and put out requests for qualifications to bring on a new master developer for the Naval Weapons Station project. We went ahead and selected the Concord First LLC group. And so what's going to happen next is we're going to then move into establishing what's called an exclusive negotiating agreement with that team to then step through the processes of working on a term sheet, a disposition and development agreement with the Navy, all while working with community and trying to kind of tighten up that plan. The good part, though, that I like to tell people is that the many years of planning and community meetings and everything that's gone into trying to get us to this point is not lost. And so the general framework and the general idea of what we want it to look like, for the most part, is going to come to fruition. Now, of course, there's going to be a few tweaks here and there as it relates to a street here or a shop, the shopping centers. For the most part, we have a general idea of where they're going to be. We're going to work on some densities and what makes sense and some of the different buffers and things like that. But for the most part, that you've been kind of watching getting pieced together over the last many years is kind of the vision. And that's kind of what's been nice about we haven't lost any ground, and especially the dollars that have been spent on the planning process. And so a lot of that can get used as we pull it forward. And that was one of the things that we were talking with the developer candidates is, are you okay with a lot of the planning that has been done, because the community gave a lot of that input and we've gone through that process. And so the goal isn't to strip it down, start from scratch, throw it out, and let's start something brand new. Because the goal is to be able to try to move this into something that makes sense in a timely manner. And so I think in terms of over the next few months, we are going to move into trying to get that inclusive negotiating agreement finished, finish up a term sheet, and then start working with the Navy so that we can kind of get to that final point where we can really start moving dirt. And so that's kind of some of the exciting pieces that we're working through right now. I think the other thing too is we're trying to figure out where it's going to start. And so some things that are being discussed as we speak are some areas that we're looking at are areas that are specifically up at the top of Willow Pass Road as it kind of meets Highway 4 in some cases is probably where you're going to see some connection points start. And the reason for that is there's a number of things that happen all in that area. In some cases, that's where utilities are. It also happens to be areas that are, in some cases, already clean that could be moved over. And so I bring that up because as the property gets transferred, the whole property doesn't get transferred all at once. And so that's something that the city of Concord is going to be very, very mindful of as we go through this process, which is when we get the property, we're going to get the property that has been cleaned up to the proper standard. And so we're not going to take any property from the Navy until it does meet that standard and not try to take anything early. Because unfortunately, we don't want to take something and all of a sudden find, oh, there's a little bit more remediation that needs to be done to the tune of something that we don't have in the bank. And so we're going to constantly be very, very careful with that as we move forward. But in terms of the areas that we're looking at to take over first, what it does is it kind of creates a little bit of a triangle of an area where we've got some lighter commercial area. We've got some houses that could potentially be built, some commercial that can be built. The other thing it does tag on to are things like potentially the tournament sports complex as well, because there's talk about, again, some of those immediate community amenities like baseball fields. And I bring that up because that's something that is incredibly important to me to see, while we've got some of the baseball fields like for Concord American Little League off of Olivera, God love them, but there's a certain level where you start seeing end of life and it's time to kind of, okay, what's the next, what's the next vision down the road? And so I bring that up because one of the bigger plans is to start planning for that. And so that's something that even, community members and kids that are living, especially just in your neighborhood adjacent, will be able to hopefully see that, in a shorter time period instead of having to wait 20 years before we see something develop itself. So that's kind of the shorter vision at this point, as that it eventually kind of builds out. It'll also move over to the Concord, where the BART station as well. We'll see some of the higher density development between there, and then between the 2 points we've got kind of a research and development area, campus, kind of like a campus district. We're still trying to work out some of those details as well. And then moving into kind of what some of the housing divisions start to look like as we go. So a lot of fun stuff is kind of in the works at this point. I'll also mention too that over 2,600 acres of the property has already also been dedicated to the East Bay Regional Parks. And so that has already taken place, that's done. And so East Bay Regional Parks is in the process now of kind of moving through their development process and trying to figure out kind of what their next phases are going to be with the park. And so, again, a lot of different little moving parts. You may see people out on the property as we speak, though there is some remediation work that's going to be done over the next 5 to 7 years. And so those are all things that are going to be normal. You'll see people out there. We do have, there is security that's out there as well on a regular basis, maintaining and monitoring the site. And then, of course, you've probably, driven by and didn't realize that you've probably seen a few other cars driving around out there, probably without drivers, maybe a few with drivers. As we've got Gomentum, which is the autonomous vehicle testing site that has been a lot of fun to see as it develops, and kind of working on some of those mobility solutions of the future. So that little unmanned shuttle that's going to kind of run you around maybe downtown or to and from, around the shopping center kind of a thing. So, so I'm going to stop there because I would imagine there's probably lots of questions at this point in time. And there are, like I said, there are a ton of different topics, different things that we can throw out there. So I would love to hear kind of feedback and, questions from you guys.
I got some questions here, but first of all, does anybody have any questions that is here on Zoom? Raise your hand if you have any questions for our mayor. Okay. Guillermo, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Good to hear from you. This is a situation that has nothing to do with what you just commented. You were approached recently by one of my neighbors, Nick Arabian, telling you about some dispute that we have, the residents of Peachwood with the HOA of Dana Gardens. We went to with the planning commission, but they proposed a remediation of the wall that fell off 2 years ago, and they haven't done anything to repair it. The commission or they favor and they favor with the HOA with Dana Gardens, allowing them to construct a substandard wooden fence instead of the masonry wall that was there since it was planned and developed. I find out that none of the people and the council that voted, they have any experience with planning and development. One of the votes of the people from the council was based on, oh, I think that the fences are of wood are beautiful, and the ones from brick are ugly, and that's how he based his vote. So this puts us in a situation where we are living with our backs to a parking lot. We tolerated lots of things over these past 2 years. We have lack of use of our backyards. I even had to the code enforcement from Concord came over to me and tell me that I have to put something because I have a pool and now is not protected adequately, but it's not fault of ourselves, is a situation that the negligence of the lack of administration of the HOA and Dana Gardens now is trying to get away with it. And the problem with the votes of the commission was that now they're rewarding the negligence. The vote should have been yes, we approve the plans, or no, we don't approve the plans, and they have nothing to do with who pays for what. And they are inclusively telling us that they are abandoning the footing of the wall that fell off to give us an extra 6 inches of property. That is not something that we require or we need, and also is a situation that poses a risk because that particular cement footing is full of rods that are oxidized, and they are trying to leave us, the residents, to take care of that. So I wish that you could please, if you can give us a hand or at least hear us out. We are 6 residents that we are in this situation, and the wall is still visibly leaning without the Dana Gardens make any attempt to either maintain, repair, or fix, and their own excuses that they don't have money.
Yeah. Thank you, Guillermo, very much for your comment there. And basically, Tim, that was one of the questions that I did receive, so I don't have to ask it, which is really great. But they really want to know the requirements to do an appeal and how to do the appeal because they felt they weren't heard at the meeting.
Correct. So I'm very aware of kind of what's going on with this at this moment. you can do an appeal. The appeal can be done at City Hall. There is a fee to file the appeal, and that is customary in this manner. And so that and I believe I have an email from one of your neighbors as well, who looked like she did look into that process and went ahead and talked to someone at the city. So I believe they do have that information on how to do that. In some cases, I don't necessarily want to get into too much of the semantics here, just because of it kind of being kind of the neighbor versus HOA situation at the moment. Unfortunately, what issue we're having at this moment is what was codified apart when the plan was originally approved. It was built with a certain type of fence, but it wasn't required to have that type of fence. They just built it anyways at the time. And so that is a part of the problem, is that wasn't necessarily in the conditions of approval when the property was built. And so you also have some issues between it being, it's HOA property they built at the time when they did it. So it's not necessarily a shared fence, but could it also be considered a shared fence? Now, is it something that they probably should have maintained and they should have dealt with? Yes. Is there a reason why they didn't have the reserves in the right place? Well, that is a problem. And so it definitely puts kind of the neighbor versus neighbor situation in a really difficult place at this point in time. Short of me saying that, I would imagine that you probably had to consult counsel, like not counsel, but like legal counsel at this point. It would be something that you may want to consult legal counsel over to look into this further. And whether or not it be, yes, you took it to the planning commission says, yeah, they went ahead and they can replace that fence. But there's also a possibility that maybe needing to go down the path of it being you having to then make them legally liable for it, and that it becomes some type of lawsuit you take up against the HOA, may have to be another remedy to this situation because of what's been codified that can be or cannot be required. So that's kind of where we find ourselves in terms of being able to say, hey, this was required at the time, but if it doesn't say it, versus what is kind of like currently on the books between what would be customary between the neighboring properties. So we can kind of talk more offline at this point. I know you guys are kind of in a tough spot at this point, and so I apologize. I don't want to get into it too much in this forum, but there may be some other remedies you may need to look into.
Thank you. And let's see here. Anybody else would like to raise their hands? Well, I do have some mini questions for you, Tim.
Okay.
Where do I start? I'll go to that one pretty much last. Okay. When will the reuse break ground?
Well, that is a loaded question. Best case scenario, 3 years, but I mean, that is absolute best case scenario. We're probably talking somewhere between 3 to 5 years out. This initial process to get through the E&A term sheet and this is disposition development agreement with the Navy itself will probably take a better part of the next year. So we won't probably see this all come to fruition until end of next year, beginning of the following, and then if there's any delays within that process. So it's going to take a little bit of time to work its way through the process, and then of course the Navy responding as well and being able to make sure that we can meet on terms that everyone is comfortable with. So I would say between 3 to 5 years, probably pushing closer to the 5-year mark.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you. Another neighbor says, I am right next to the Naval Weapons Station, and are we still going to get our buffer, or is that off the table?
The buffer is still on the table. So that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. The goal wasn't to take the plan that kind of got developed and throw it out. The goal is to use that existing plan. And that still is our framework, because that was what the community took kind of the time to develop. And so you're not really going to see, especially for Dana Estates is a perfect example. You guys have that buffer that's in there. That's not changing.
Good. Okay. Next question is, well, I'll just ask it. Phil wanted to know, why did you vote for Sino as master developer? I don't understand.
So realistically, it wasn't just Sino specifically. And that's the piece that we have to kind of share with everyone, is that it was a partnership between the Lewis Group, the Capital Investment Group, Phil Tagami, and Discovery. Okay. And that group made up basically a private group that is going to look to develop this property. And realistically, what we're looking at this point is we're looking at trying to have the maximum amount of local control, and the fact that what they brought to the table was not that was brought to the table by the other two groups at this point in time. And so if you look at the commitments to local labor, yes, while you might have seen at face value, everyone had some type of project labor agreement, they were extremely weak. And realistically, the other two groups that were in there would try everything they could to be able to break those agreements as soon as possible. And I bring that up on purpose because if you look at like Brookfield, right? Brookfield actually has the contract for the property that's around the North Concord BART station at this point in time. They've actually been sitting on this property now for the last almost 3 years, and have failed to actually negotiate even some remote possibility of having a conversation with local labor to do any kind of project labor agreement with them. But only because they knew that, you know, this other local group with Concord First was going to have those conversations. They wanted to try to get themselves in the game. And so they went ahead and tried to put something together. But the problem is that if you look at the developers as it relates to Discovery and as it relates to Lewis and Capital Investment Group, they actually have a very, very strong record as it relates to working with local labor. And if you talk to anybody in the labor community for our local unions, you know, over the last 10 years, they've had a very, very strong working relationship with our local women of the Contra Costa building trades, Alameda building trades. And that, you know, leads into the people that work right here in our community specifically. And so that was probably one of the biggest things that went into this decision, which is making sure that we're working with people who, when they make those agreements, they're going to honor them and not try to figure out how many ways they can get around that. But the other piece too is that we're working with local people who it's their money. And I say that on purpose because we've already been down the path of working with a company like Lennar, and you get kind of a few new faces that are going to go ahead and present their plan. And I also felt that it was slightly disingenuous to bring in Sunset Development with the Marins, because in some cases they weren't actually a part of the group. It was kind of window dressing. And so that was something that was, you know, not well done and frustrating to see, because at the same time, I already know that the Sunset Development Group is going to be actually working with Concord First as well. So we're not losing out on having the ability to still work with someone like Sunset. And in terms of local development community is still going to be pulled together. And so that's what we look at. We're trying to find people that, you know what, they're local folks, they work here, they live here, they've developed locally, it's coming out of their pocket. They're not going to sit on a project like in some cases it happened at North Concord BART. It's been 3 years and they don't have to move. Just like we got stonewalled with the stuff that happened with Lennar. And so as we kind of keep moving through this, you know, we're looking at the commitments to affordable housing. We're looking to the commitments to our veterans. We're looking to the different components to economic development. And so all those pieces kind of pulled together for us to be able to realize that we know that we can have a better working relationship with a company and a group of people that we know it's their dollars on the line. And so we're not having to also work with a Wall Street company that goes, well, we need to make this extra 2%. If we can't make this extra 2%, we can't build. We can't make anything happen. We can't move anything forward. And so that's huge because that's all we kept hearing. Again, this is the behind the scenes stuff that not everybody gets to see, but these are the things we heard behind the scenes from Lennar all the time. Well, we need to have X amount of percent. If X amount of percent isn't realized, we can't do it. Well, and it was always this back and forth on what kind of rate of return we needed to get. And the difference to that is now working with another group of people that don't have shareholders that are screaming at them to say, well, if we don't get, 35% on this project, we're out. You better get us 35%. Well, guess what? And so that piece has actually been pretty important to us. And so that's where we're looking at going, look, we know that we can establish a relationship with this group to be able to have the greatest amount of local control. And at the end of the day, it's making sure that the city has a good partner, and it's our names on the line too. So we need to be able to know we can work with these folks at any given moment and be able to say, this is what we want to see. This is how we want to see it. If our commitments aren't being met, then that's on us. Then that's on me, and that's on the rest of my council to make sure that we're going to make sure that those commitments get met in exactly what we put forward to the community. And so that's why we chose that group to move forward with.
Okay, and Lisa or Peter, you said you have a question?
Well, yeah, I just, so my question is, with the Coast Guard property selling for almost $1 million an acre, if you use that as a comp, like how is the city gonna afford the acquisition of the property if they're taking, is it 1,200 acres, or how much is gonna be transferred as far as development? I mean, doesn't that come in at like a $1.2 billion price tag or $1.2 trillion price tag if you use the Coast Guard property as a comp for what's going on?
And it's interesting you say that too, because that is something that is definitely of concern if you look at what's going on with the Coast Guard property. Now, unfortunately, the fact that that property sold for what it sold for was pretty out of whack in terms of what it should have sold for. But it did. Chances are, though, there are going to, on a price per acre basis, I don't see it going for as much. There's a number of, so I think out of the 2,500 acres, there are, I think you're right, somewhere between that, I think 1,000 acres or so actually having to be truly developed. The rest of it is some kind of open space, some kind of gifting to a different entity and making sure that it's being transferred for nothing. So you're right. That number is going to could actually be a lot higher than the last go around. And so now that's also why we have a master developer, is because the city is not the one that actually bears that price tag. So we're not the one writing the check. The group that comes in has to be able to actually take that down and has to be able to fund that acquisition.
Now, and with starting the development up by Willow Pass, what teeth are you going to have in the agreement that the developer can't walk away after like doing the most profitable or the most like easiest part of the development in the deal?
Realistically, if you're in phase one, you're doing the least unprofitable portion of the entire thing. And so I would say for the most part, you're not really going to see anybody do a quick hit and turn. It's going to take a pretty significant amount of time. And we're talking probably a good 10 years before there's going to be some small lot subdivisions or that type of thing, to where maybe, and there's going to be other developers that are going to come in, but for the master developer to be able to come in, do a quick hit, grab and go, that's not going to happen, because they actually bear the burden of the infrastructure cost up front, is how the development reads. And so in a lot of cases, we're talking to the tune of somewhere between $300 to $400 million that have to be put out before they can turn the first dollar. And so those are a lot of that kind of that teeth that gets put in right up front that says, you're not going to want to have to just, do something quick and turn, because you're on the hook for all these other things. So you're going to have to make your costs back, and it's going to take you a while. And so this has to be for the long term. But that's also why we changed the project slightly from when we first did this. Instead of phasing it like we did last time, oh, here's phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That was actually something that did cause a problem, because it made it to where the developer couldn't amortize the project over a longer period of time. And so being able to put the amount of investment that was needed into a larger scale project, we actually found problems. And so that's why this is now going to be an entire project, all being done under kind of one big umbrella, and not necessarily, here's the first 500 acres, and then here's the next 500 acres, because it actually is counterproductive to being able to get this developed properly. And so, to your point, we're going to make sure that there's definitely some kind of, golden handcuffs in there as we go, so that they don't just, hey, let's develop a few subdivisions and call it a day. And they definitely have to perform as we go along.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Let me just go ahead and let this person in. Okay. Last question. I'm going to go ahead unless somebody wants to raise their hand. And this is a fun one for you, Tim. Will we be having the turkey trot this year and the Christmas tree lighting ceremony?
So that's more of a Kim question for the turkey trot. But for the tree lighting, we are absolutely having the tree lighting this year, and that is happening. And I can even give you the date. I believe it's supposed to be the very first. Let's see here. It is supposed to be December 4th. Is the plan. So we will still have the mayor's tree lighting happening live in the plaza, like we've always done it. And that will be on Saturday, December 4th. And
will Santa be there?
And I'm hearing that more than Santa is going to be there. Like, I'm hearing that there may even be a reindeer or two in that makes a showing. So we have quite a team that's working on it this year. And I'm hearing that's going to be a lot of fun.
Mayor, I just watched the old Friends episode with the Christmas armadillo. I don't know if you remember that, but if you can get the Christmas armadillo, now that would be a thing. I'll say there are no restrictions in place right now for outdoor events. So there would be no reason on the health department side that you wouldn't. One of the things that we would highly recommend is if you get in a place, even outdoors that's crowded, that you put a mask on. But
yes.
There you go. There you go.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. So that should be fun. That's something we can be looking forward to.
Yeah. Otherwise, you answered all the other questions I had here, so I didn't really want to have you to repeat yourself again. So I think we've got them answered.
All right.
And I hope I got to all of the people's questions that emailed me. And anybody else, before we move on, have a question? Does not look that way. Okay. Let me go ahead, and I thank you again, Mayor, for being here. We always appreciate you being here.
Thank you, and appreciate everyone for being around as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, comments. Please give me a call or send me an email.
We will definitely do that, and we hope that you come to our Dana Night Out, because we will be having our live Dana Night Out in June. Just to let you guys know, we're excited that will be back for sure. But before that, this October 30th, as Kim mentioned, wear your mask. We are so excited to be having a live event. We are going live again, people. Yes. So the Halloween Craft Carnival on October 10 to 2. We have a lot of neighbors who are wonderful crafters. You can buy jam, you can buy little knickknacks, you can buy all kinds of really great things are going to be available for you. Paintings you name it, you can go do your early Christmas shopping. But not only that, we have stuff for the kids. We're going to have a dance contest. We want you to carve your pumpkins and bring them down because we're going to have a pumpkin carving contest, um, as well as other events. We're going to have the games. We're going to have crafts for kids so kids can make their own personal crafts for free. And of course, Dana Plaza, buy your food there. I believe we're going to have samples again, just as a prelim to the Dana Night Out for everybody. So please definitely watch your newsletter. I'm really am excited about this because I want to see all your happy faces um, down at Dana Plaza. The Dana Night Out will be on June 22nd, just so you know ahead of time. Also, get those decorations out for the holidays. We are having again our holiday lighting contest. You just need to submit your entry by December 11th, just telling us your address and that you want to participate. And we would like to get your email address so we can reach you as well. I will be going around after that, after December 11th, and taking videos of all the houses. And I'm going to go live on YouTube as well for that. So that's going to be fun. So between December 13th and 18th, I'll be going out doing that. I can't say I'll be doing it on the 11th. So watch YouTube for that. But December 13th to 18th, you guys get a vote for who's your favorite house to win prizes for the first, second, and third place. So again, watch your newsletter for that as well. So definitely more fun events coming, and we'll be hopefully back to our live in-person meetings, as well as, of course, Day Night Out will be June 20, in June, on June the 20, once again, June the 22nd. And of course, we need your donations, so please donate to us so we can keep everything up and going. Again, if you go to Amazon and you just make us your donation, because we are a nonprofit, you don't have to pay anything extra. You can just buy all those wonderful holiday gifts and put some of the money towards us. You can, you can switch it around on who is you on Amazon Smile, who the person donating to, or Smile Amazon. I do. I go to Dana sometimes, and I have another organization that I also donate to on Amazon, on Smile Amazon, a school. But you can definitely go back and forth, but definitely put some of those Christmas holiday gifts to us if you utilize Amazon. Or, of course, we definitely welcome your donations. So that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Hey, Colleen, I have one final question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what's up with Pizza Pie?
Oh, Pizza Pie, you did mention that. Pizza Pie is going back and forth on what they're doing. They did lose a lot of money with COVID. They just started out, a new owner just started out when COVID hit in 2020. And Carla is working with them, but they're just basically, they have a second job, and then they do so they're there sometimes, once in a while, very rarely, and then they're back. But they will be, according to Carla, the manager of Dana Plaza, they are not planning on leaving. She just doesn't know when they're going to be going live again, to where they're always open. Because yeah, I'll get more information and I will post it on our Facebook page so you guys know once I get more information from Carla. We are hoping, because they will be one of the people that are supposed to be part of the October event, so hopefully they're going to be up and running at least for that.
We've tried hard to support them, but there's only so much two people can do.
I know. I actually been going, and that's another thing, everybody. You should really go to Dana Plaza. I find myself twice a week for lunch, once in a while for dinner, but usually for lunch. I go around to each one of the organizations there, the food eateries there, and I buy something. So I just sort of go in a circle and keep doing it, just so that they get money. And I do it twice a week for lunch usually, but sometimes for dinner. So definitely, we want to keep them open because they need us as much as we need them. For sure, for sure. Anybody else have any questions? Looks like not. I do want to thank everybody for attending and you guys on YouTube for staying with us. And I hope you guys all we've stopped on actually right on time. So again, I thank you. And I definitely want to thank Lisa Borba and Jennifer for moving the slides for her. Kim for her presentation, a wonderful presentation. And of course, our Mayor, Tim McGallian. I definitely applaud you and I thank you guys very much. Have a great evening, everybody.